Good morning. So this is part 5 of feeling trapped, and I'm going to go over how it may look like from the world standpoint of how it looks like to feel trapped, and also more deeply, I guess, of how it is to feel trapped. Okay, so like from the first part of the video, I said that, when God is not number one and you have an idol, that's going to lead to a trap. That trap is either going to lead to a misfortune or to tyranny. From the world standpoint of view, the misfortune is going to look like a victim. The tyranny is going to look like the oppressor, the perpetrator. For the sake of this video, I'm going to say that the misfortune is going to be a victim, okay? And then for the sake of this video, I'm going to say that the tyrant is going to be the oppressor. Okay, so I'm going to go over my notes, and then I'm going to explain it at the end. And I'm going to try to do this video very quick, but I doubt it. Okay, so from the world stand, the person that is a victim, misfortune, may look like this: codependency, covert of the narcissism spectrum, I guess. Excessive talking and leaning on others instead of, the way it's supposed to be. And then loving others but really neglecting themselves to the point where they harm themselves. And I don't mean physical harm, but I don't mean it could exclude it. I mean just, not doing right by themselves. And then in this order, it's going to be the idol is going to be the other person, and themselves is going to be number 2, and then God is going to be 3rd. You know how like we have the order: love God, love others, like we love ourselves. Okay, so now for the tyrant or the perpetrator, it's going to look like this: counterdependence. It's going to look like overt in the sense of narcissism, right? Because that's like what the trending words now. And then it's going to look like they punish others, damaging others, as opposed to the other one, damaging self. The overt, the perpetrator, or the one from the world standpoint of that one that is harming, it's going to look like this: excessive talking to self-reliance. So they mainly rely on self, not on others, because others have never been reliable. They themselves are the only ones that actually can be reliable. All right, and then with them, their God is 3, the same like the other one, and others are 2, and then they themselves are number 1. So for both of them, right, for the victim and for the perpetrator, both of them, God is number 3, the last one on their list, regardless if they realize it or not. Okay, so some things we do not know. Some things we are easily deceived by. You know what I mean? That's why the Bible says that, and that a lot of people are going to be deceived, right? It's going to appear a certain way, but that's not how it's going to actually be. So, okay, now I'm going to explain it. So far, so good. Pretty quick. Okay, so from the victim, right, for the purpose of this video, from the victim standpoint, it's going to look like they are constantly reaching out to others as far as hey, look at, this person is really hurting me. Do you see that? And then the other person's going to be like, I totally see it. That's not fair. Why do they do that? Because it's going to be so apparent. The oppressor, it's going to be so apparent that they're the oppressor. It's going to be so apparent that they're the perpetrator, right? Because it's everyone, not everyone, but mainly a lot of people, right? Mostly people can see when it's somebody that's, that is, I guess, what's the right word? Selfish? I guess selfish. Maybe I'm gonna use that word, selfish. But anyways, it's apparent when someone is selfish. And however, it's still selfish to not take care of yourself. It's still selfish to not do right by yourself. And I think this one is least talked about, and it's not popular for both parties, for both the victim and for both the oppressor. it's just not popular. It doesn't serve either one. So this information will get both sides very angry, because for the victim, they want to continue to stay a victim. For the oppressor, they want to continue to oppress the victim. So it will not serve both parties. It will be met with great hostility. And it's different if you are doing things for the glory of God. Now, God does not call us to neglect our health. God does not call us to harm ourselves, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. He does not call us to harm ourselves in that. Like, he doesn't call us to do that. So that wouldn't be for the glory of God. If we look at the saints and the way they lived their lives, they did things in such a way that they glorified God. Now, from the outside point of view, did it look like they were harming themselves? From the outside point of view, did it look like they were neglecting themselves? Yeah, it did. But they weren't. They weren't neglecting themselves. They did things for the glory of God. They did things to glorify the Lord. And that's where the healthy relationship with God comes in. And the saints that walk this earth, and all the biblical people that walk this earth, in the Bible, they are a model for us to live our lives by. This is an example of how people lived, and this is an example of what happened when they lived a certain way. It's all for us. The Bible literally says the Bible is written for us, so we know, right? So it's not a good thing to neglect ourselves. It's not a good thing to neglect our health, in the same way that it's not a good thing to hurt others and only think about ourselves. There has to be this balance where we put God in the place of God, and then we put others in the way that God intends for us, which is loving others the way we love ourselves. But we need to learn how to love ourselves. We need to learn how to love. And how do we love ourselves? We need to accept God's love. We need to accept it, not reject it, accept it. And how do we do that? Is spending time with him, is engaging him, and seeing ourselves the way he sees us. So in a sense, it's kind of like the victim role is kind of trying to correct their hurts and their wounds with other people so they could be healthy and move on in life. And the oppressor is kind of trying to keep the victim in that role to punish them for all the harm that they experienced in their life, in the past. So they want to harm them. They want to punish them. They want to get back. They want to get them back so they could also move on in life. As opposed to the victim, they want to have a corrective relationship or punish themselves severely to the point where they make up for what's been done to them in their past so they can move on. But either way, both these parties, both these people, both these situations are not healthy, because only God can heal us. Only God can. And yes, we do need to do the inner work. Yes, we do need to take our thoughts captive. Yes, we do need to surrender to God. Yes, we do need to have faith. However, we cannot put people in the place of God, or things or items or money or jewelry, whatever it is. We can't put things where only God belongs, and we can't depend on others to the point that they become our God. And I don't mean this financially, guys. I do not mean this financially. I mean this spiritually. We cannot be held in bondage during these last times. And I'm not saying tomorrow's going to be the end, or in a couple days, or in a month, or 2, or a year, or 3. I'm saying last times in the sense of every single day draws us more near to the day that our Lord's going to come back again. Every single day. And we should be diligent so we are not deceived in either role. Either, the victim, codependent role, or either, the role of the oppressor, perpetrator, or the role of the narcissist and narcissist, right? Because they're both really on themselves, right? The role of the covert and the overt, right? Because with the covert, like in worldly definition, it's like you can't tell, right? It's hidden. That doesn't mean they really know. That doesn't mean that it's in their conscious mind. And then with the over, it's just so apparent. It's just so apparent. But just because it's so apparent that they're selfish, that doesn't mean that in the victim role that they're not being selfish as well. Because in a sense, when you put others so ahead of yourself that you neglect your health, your mind, body, and spirit, that's very, very selfish. Why? Because you're not thinking about others either. You're not really thinking about others, because then you're putting them in that role of being an oppressor. The same thing with the oppressor. You're putting the victim in the role, in the place of a victim. You're doing the oppression. So it's like, it's a joint effort. Both people have to agree in these roles in order to continue the cycle, like the cycle of abuse. Both people have to continue to stay there in order for this to keep going. It's until one says, I'm done, this is not healthy, it's gotten to the point where that's it. It's until that time, usually, but hopefully not, but you know. So that's why, regardless of which one, we may or may not be at, we need to constantly strive for the Lord and put things in order. God, number one, and then we love others like we love ourselves, and then do things for the glory of God. Is this going to glorify God? Are my actions going to glorify God? Is my love going to glorify God? And for, let's say, for the codependent, it may look like doing a constant check on yourself. Am I loving others like I'm loving myself? Am I doing right by myself? Am I respecting myself? And then for the perpetrator or the oppressor, it's going to look like, you know what? Am I giving to others in the same way that I'm giving to myself, right? And then both of them are going to have to be like, who am I punishing? Am I punishing myself? Am I punishing others? Am I like trying to correct this relationship that only I can correct with the Lord, And then the other one's going to be like, am I trying to punish others for what I've gone through? And then both of them are going to be like, am I really trying to protect myself from getting hurt, right? Because that's what it comes down to. I've been hurt so bad that I need to do these things to protect myself in order to not get hurt again. So in the sense, I need to be my own God. And that's where God can only be God. Well, anyways, I just wanted to do this video and kind of just explain a little bit about, how it looks like to have an idol in the idol, and what it may or may not appear from an outsider looking in. So anyways, hope you guys have an amazing day, and I love you. Bye.